to Character Crusade.
Hey everybody, welcome to Character Crusade podcast. I'm Stu, and joining me tonight is Jessa. Say hello, Jessa.
Hey there, I'm Jessa, and I'm sitting in for Joe and Matt this evening. Hi, everybody.
Yes, that gives you a sense for just how powerful Jessa is, that she can replace two people.
Two people.
That's right. So I'm very grateful that Jessa was able to join me tonight, and also very grateful to have Jessa back making videos and all of that good stuff. So
Yay!
Much appreciated. Yeah.
I'm so pleased.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so pleased.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to have to get into a little bit of discussion about how things are going for you as you're getting up and running again here. But before we do that, I've got a couple announcements. What was that, Jessa?
I was going to say I would be happy to do so after the announcements.
Announcements? I like your first person better.
I told him that I'm going to make mistakes, because I'm still, so I decided I'd start out with a mistake like right off the bat.
Perfect. The perfect mistake, right? That's what we strive for. Okay, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of our new Patreon supporters on the Character Crusade Patreon campaign over the last month. Since our last podcast, we've had a lot of people that have really stepped up to help us out a lot. Really do appreciate all of that. And we made some updates recently to our Patreon campaign. We've got a couple of new reward levels. And I put that in there as an experiment because I really just had only a couple of levels in there up to $5. So I put in some higher levels with some more interesting and sort of interactive rewards. And it was pretty amazing. We've had a couple people supporting us at the highest levels, our prime level, which we really do appreciate. So big thanks to everybody for that. That makes a huge difference in keeping the lights on and keeping the content rolling and just helping us strive towards both our long and short-term goals for the podcast and for Couch Warrior TV. So much appreciated. So for tonight, what Jessa and I decided to do, now initially we were going to try and do something with quirk cards. That didn't really work out. What we decided to do was take a look at music and the role it plays in games. Not necessarily music that comes in the published game, but the ways that we can use music as a tool to help inspire us or create a mood or help us tell a story, things like that. So we've got a few things we're going to talk about there. We may actually listen to a few tracks. We're going to talk about some mods that allow you to really amp up the way that you use music in your role play. And it should be a lot of fun. Now,
this is going to be a good one. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think we're going to go till probably about 7:30, so about an hour and a half. And then after that, I'm going to shut the stream down and restart. And then starting at 8 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to be doing a live stream, voicing a live episode of Ashes. So voicing Marl live in a stream and recording that content for the next episode of Ashes. So if you'd like to sit in and see the sausage making process that is a voiced episode of that story, feel free to join the stream at 8 p.m. And that ought to be an interesting experience.
Did you say sausage making? Did you just say sausage making?
I did. That's exactly what I said.
That's what it's like. You know, if you want to know what it's like on the other end of the mic, it's like sausage making. That's what it's like.
It is. I mean,
it's messy and it puts you through the grinder and it's just,
I know. Yeah.
And when you get something that's really good on the other end, you just say, oh, thank you to the Lord of Sausage. I'm so grateful.
Wow. I like how this is turning out. This is a great discussion.
In Skyrim, who's the god of sausage? Which Daedric Pent is in charge of sausage?
Man, I don't know.
I don't even know if they have sausage in Skyrim.
They should, but they don't.
No, and I'm going to write a strongly worded letter.
Yeah. I think it's Wolfenstein that more than makes up for that. I mean, there's all kinds of sausage in there.
Sausage everywhere.
Pretty much. Sausage fest, as they say.
It's a sausage fest.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I mean, this is actually kind of a timely discussion, too, because I just released a video today for, St. Billy. And there were some shenanigans going on in that episode that I knew, people were going to notice. There was a segment in there where my ammo numbers were not dropping as I was firing. Well,
and they noticed like 5 minutes after you posted that. Okay, maybe 10. And somebody was like, "Hey, why? Like, what's up with that?"
Yeah.
And you think you can hide it, and you think no, but or you think maybe I can get away with this one little whoopsie, but nope. Yeah. You can time it. You can set your watch by it. You guys are so good at being able to see the content we put out in the games that you love so well and know so well and be like, that ammo number is wrong by 1. And by the way, you missed a chest that's right behind you. You could have sat on it. Okay, so goodbye.
Yeah. That stuff. I've got mixed feelings about that. You know what I mean? Like
you get it's a love of the game. It's what it is.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. In this particular case, it was like, well, if I was in this making a video because somehow I was trying to show off my gaming prowess, that would be akin to cheating, right? But in my particular case, I'm trying to fill in a hole in the story, and I forgot to turn God mode off because I had to run halfway across the map to get back to my starting point. And I just expediency. I just wanted to get to the damn spot so I could start recording. And of course, when I got there, not only did I not turn God mode off, but I also had my HUD still turned off as well. And there's a point there where I had to turn the HUD back on just so that I could take care of some stuff on screen. I could pick up some loot and do some stuff like that. So, by the time I got done with that, and then I realized that I wasn't, that I was still in God mode and all this stuff, I'm like, okay, do I just keep this footage and just use it? Or do I go back and re-record it? And I discovered that, the only reason that I would have gone back and re-recorded that footage was because I didn't want somebody telling me or asking that question, right? And I thought, okay, if I'm just about telling the story here, then fine. So I decided to just go with it, as opposed to worrying about it.
That's very, when you make a mistake, there's an episode coming up of Kenlan's story. And you were going to ask me about Kenlan and, about the channel and how things are going.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that, shall we?
So let's just talk about that.
Let's do that.
So I run a channel called the Jessa channel on YouTube. And this is my 4th or 5th time being on the podcast. So a lot of you guys in the comment in the chat room here know me. Hi, you guys. And there's such great people in the chat room right now. So nice. Katie Bryson, she's such a lovely viewer and has been watching my channel for years now. I think Katie. But anyway, so the channel had to be quiet for a while because I had to go to get some surgery done, and it took a long time to heal. I was hoping to be on the channel by April, but that didn't happen. So it's now June, and I'm finally starting to be able to record, and I put content up last week and this week, and have had a warm welcome back, which I'm very appreciative for. But the channel is known for my two sort of flagship series is Skyrim and The Sims 2. And so within Skyrim, there's new content that went up today. Where right now I decided to get the ball rolling by just getting us into a really nice dungeon crawl. Just dive in there and beat the crap out of stuff, complete with smack talking. In fact, I had to bleep myself twice because I got into it. And
really?
I started, and this is a family-friendly channel, so I can't curse on the mic. So when I do accidentally, which happens very rarely, I bleep myself. So there's actual bleepage in these episodes. But anyway, we went through, I do a series called Skyrim Reborn mod playthroughs. So it's basically just playing through different mods, like the one I'm doing now is Forgotten Dungeons. So, oh, hey, Matt. Matt just jumped into the chat. Hi, Matt.
Excellent. Greetings, Matt.
Hello, the party's all here.
Yes.
Matt, I'm not nearly as funny as you are, and I'm not nearly as handsome, but I'm trying. I'm trying.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, so there's so we just jumped in and did this huge dungeon, and it took it's taken 3 episodes to do. The next week, Kenlin's Story season 3 starts again, and within that, we're finishing up the Civil War questline, and it's gotten so fun. Within that questline, Kenlin, who is an Imperial, she's basically General Tullius's secret weapon for winning the Civil War. She is General Tullius's daughter. She hails from Bruma, and a little note on that. Mark your calendars, July 1st. Beyond Skyrim, the Bruma edition is coming out. Nice. This is when they have taken Bruma and recreated it in the Skyrim engine. So you will be able to go to the gate where, normally you can't go any farther, and you'll be able to open that gate and walk into Cyrodiil on July 1st. Mark your calendars. That mod comes out on the Skyrim Nexus. So anyway, Kenlin, who hails from Bruma, is General Tullius' secret weapon, and she's had 3 opportunities within the Civil War questline to go into disguise in order to infiltrate the Stormcloaks for one reason or another. So I've been able to take a questline that, from a vanilla standpoint is pretty, lackluster. I mean, and go in and just dig in there with the role play and pull out a lot of opportunities. So the last opportunity, there's a point in that quest line where you need to stop a Stormcloak courier and take his papers. And I don't know if you've played through the Civil War quest line, Stu, and remember what I'm talking about. Probably been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Okay. Well, within the Civil War quest line, right before you, about middle of the quest line, you have to infiltrate, grab a Stormcloak courier, kill him, that's moving back and forth between 2 different ends, and take his papers. Well, Kenlin actually decided to go infiltrate Windhelm in the disguise of an upper-class noble who was in mourning for her Stormcloak husband. She put on a completely black outfit. She used snowberries to dye her hair red. I know you've done that before. That was something that you used. And I'm actually going to make it take a while to wash out.
Yeah.
Troll fat and snowberries. Troll fat and snowberries, you guys. If you want to do like a total red, I think I'm going to dye my afro red. I'm just going to get some troll fat, some snowberries.
That was
My
Vander's mistake. He mixed in. I think he mixed in some egg, and then he used troll fat, and instead of he used snowberries, and he ended up getting fuchsia. That was the deal. He was shooting for blue and trying to come up with some combo. He was told that the thing to do was to use snowberries, and he ended up with fuchsia hair when what he was shooting for was blue. So yeah.
Chance of Luck has just told me in the chat room that frostbite venom will turn it back to blue if you want, So we could just get Kendlin going for all these different hair colors. But anyway, she has this long red hair, and she infiltrated and ended up asking for the documents from the Stormcloak carrier, who then attacked her. And then I weaved that into the murder mystery that happens in Windhelm, where the butcher is there.
Sure.
So I weaved that in and actually had Kendlin run out of Windhelm yelling that the butcher was attacking her because she was a noble. She had no swords in disguise.
Right.
And used that to play through, and it ended up turning out well. So that's going to come out next week or so, maybe the week after. There's about 5 episodes. I'm into season 3. So that's what's happening on the channel. Thank you so much for asking.
Yes. Very cool. Now, it sounds like you've got a lot of content banked, and you're just kind of working on putting it all together, right?
I have. In fact, last night, I was rendering those 5 episodes. The dungeon crawl is up already, but that's all I have. Of course, it is my dream to have content banked, and it never happens.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a month of content banked up, and so I never have to go, oh gosh, I need to have something up, but that has never happened. Dream on.
I can't do that, but for different reasons. It's having content, I guess. Having content on the drive just sitting there is like a nightmare for me. It drives me absolutely bananas to have content that's unreleased, and that's why I'll put out big blasts of episodes where I'll put out 4 or 5 at once, because those 4 or 5 episodes constitute one play session. And it may be I get a chance to sit down on a weekend and play for 4 hours. Well, I've got 4 episodes right there, and the idea of not releasing it drives me bananas. I get antsy and weird about it. So, and the other thing too for me is that I feel like if I let it sit too long, then the story is no longer fresh in my mind. So that's just a personal hang up that I have. But I've always loved the idea of having a bunch of back content that I could slowly release. But in practice, it seems impossible for me to do, and it's a more of a personality quirk than anything else. I think
it takes a lot of patience. It does, and you have to really sit on your hands, because you're like, this amazing thing happened, and knowing that if you're following a schedule, which I am of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that your viewers aren't going to see this fantastic thing that happened for 2 weeks. But for me, the peace of mind of not having to worry about, I missed a day, or how long has the channel been quiet, kind of thing makes up. It's just, basically temperament. I understand, though.
It is. Well, I'm noticing in the chat, Chance of Luck Zero is throwing out this recipe, frostbite venom, to turn it back to blue.
Yeah, the hair color.
Yeah, well, that is something that I had mentioned in an episode of Vander's story. We never got to that episode, but he was told by Robard that if he got the spider venom, that it would neutralize the color in his hair and turn it back to its natural color, and then he could dye it again and get it right the next time. What people don't realize is that in the episodes that were going to come after that, he didn't specify if it was a regular spider or a frostbite spider, and Vander actually gets the wrong spider venom, which turned his hair green, and then he would go through a series of episodes with green hair and trying to figure out how to deal with that. I can't remember what the combination of spiders was exactly, but it was the wrong spider that he killed.
That's there's so many ways that you can find to role play, and many people, myself included until recently, would make a character in the character creator using race menu, which allows you to do so much more to your character.
Absolutely.
And just make your character, and then she or she looks the same throughout the entire play through. You never go back into race menu again.
Right.
But there are so many opportunities, like with Kenlin, she has actually taken to wearing, since she went through the orc blood proving, and she is now a blood kin, she now has special face mask, war paint that she wears that signifies that she is a blood kin. And it was really fun to go in. And I know you had a character that you used to add war paint to him. I'm forgetting his name right now. The vampire you'd add war paint to him to start a battle. You'd add different war paint.
Yeah. I absolutely loved race menu. I miss that mod a lot, but with all of my characters, I used it a lot to change hairstyles, to change skin color, to do war paint, to, create tattoos, all kinds of different things that would create variation throughout the character's history and
their history, exactly.
Those changes in appearance to mark turning points in their story.
Time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can give them wrinkles, you can change your hairstyle, you can also change their body size. There was a mod out there, might still be, for original Skyrim that was called Pumping Iron, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And it would allow you to, have your character start out kind of thin and then over time get kind of muscled to represent all of this intense running, fighting, that kind of stuff you're doing. You could have a character, get more muscles with race menu. You can change the body sizes. But you could also have it be where the character gets kind of fat. I don't know.
Yeah.
They eat a lot. They don't walk very much. They take the carriage everywhere, or maybe they go from being very, very large and very overweight to losing weight and becoming kind of thin at the end of the episode, at the end of the series. Anything that you can do to add, when people are role playing, a lot of times what they think about is the backstory and then adding some realism mods, like some eating mods and all that kind of stuff. There's so much you can do just by thinking about how you would have evolved over time. Anyway,
absolutely.
That's a whole nother episode. So you get me started, and oh gosh.
Pumping Iron, that's one of Gopher's mods, I believe.
Gopher.
Pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that concept. It kind of takes care of that facet, like it puts it in place and you don't really have to think about it. You just adventure and watch your character evolve. I've always been intrigued by the idea of playing a big, strong character who was sort of the big around the middle and barrel-chested, like bear-shaped kind of dude, right? As opposed to the chiseled type of warrior.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite warriors, like from stories and the movies and stuff like that, are those big kind of Little John type of warriors that are just big hulking guys who aren't chiseled but just have a lot of weight to throw around and a lot of pure strength. I always think it's the idea that a game will allow you to play a character like that, I think is very cool. So
there's a follower that I'm thinking about right now. And I'm trying to remember his name, who fits that exactly. He has custom armor. There he is. He has custom armor, and he is made by the same man, I believe, who does Immersive Armors, the Immersive Armor collection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll pull him up because my brain is frying here. But he's huge. When you go into the Skyrim Nexus and you look at all the follower mods that are available, if you take out all of the female overly sexualized anime mods, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you take those out, that leaves you with like 20 mods, or something like that. of voiced characters and that kind of thing. And this mod Hoth, there he is.
Yeah, Hoth.
On the Nexus. Hoth, 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 and
Made
he
by
is
Hoth Trooper.
Huge, custom armor, bounty hunter. He takes his kills. He has a skull on his armor. He has like bones, like so if he kills something, he like troll heads hanging off his armor. A big bear pelt. He's like this beefy dude. There is nothing pretty about this guy.
No,
at all.
There isn't. He's actually quite scary, although less scary once you start talking to him.
Yeah.
His voice, I think, kind of brings him down to earth a little bit more and makes him a little bit less over the top scary. But he's very imposing when you first encounter him, without a doubt.
Exactly. So, and you know, he's basically one of those followers where, you know, so many times the follower is deferring to you. Yeah, not really with him. I mean, he'll follow you because the game requires that, but you feel more like you're following him, and you want to ask him permission to go into that dungeon, you know, that kind of thing. So he'd be excellent in that way. I'm going to throw his link in the chat.
Okay, cool.
Or I can't, because you can't put links in the chat. Very wise. Anyway.
Yeah, that's the chat I was talking about with you earlier.
That chat. Yeah.
That chat as
Skype
opposed
chat.
to Skype chat. Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
But let's see. I should.
You can put things on your screen. Can you put things on your screen, Stu?
Yeah. Hang on, though.
There he is. He's in chat now.
I am going to...
Like I Care is asking what the topic of the stream is. The topic is that, well, right now we're just sort of shooting the breeze and talking about roleplay. But in a moment or so, we're going to be talking about music and the power of music to enhance your roleplay. I'm going to be introducing you to some music mods and talking about some of the different other games that you can use the music from to enhance in your Skyrim game and that kind of stuff. And the different tracks that Stu and I use to make our Let's Plays come alive.
Yes.
That you can use as well.
I updated the episode title to Music and Roleplay with Jessa in OBS. Also, I think I've given you sufficient access to put URLs in now, Jessa, directly into the YouTube chat. So give it a test and make sure it works.
There it is.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you, Katie. She beat me to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Katie's on top of things when it comes to just helping out with chat and stuff like that. She's extremely helpful. So we've got multiple people now who can get that stuff in there. Okay, so let me do this. I am going to make sure that we are set up for our next segment here, because we are going to get into that music discussion now.
Yay! We need tunes! Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're going to approach this from a number of different angles. One of them is just, you know, the idea of how you can use music for inspiration. One is how you can incorporate music of your own into your game. And then we're also going to discuss a little bit some of our thoughts, Jessa and I, on how we like to use music to enhance our stories. And we will be discussing it. We will be hopefully successfully playing a few samples along the way. And
hopefully,
you know, I say that with supreme confidence, obviously. You know,
yeah.
So that's kind of the objective here. Maybe it would make sense for us to start just by talking in general about the impact of music in the games that we play. And this can be the music that comes with the game specifically. I know from my own experience that the first couple of playthroughs that I did of Skyrim, I used the default Skyrim music. I loved having the default soundtrack, the Jeremy Soule soundtrack playing.
Jeremy Soule. Yep.
He's absolutely an amazing composer, and the music is incredible in the game, and it really sets the tone beautifully. But I was really struck how much I could change the feel and the atmosphere of the game by including my own music. And I started doing that, of course, more actively when I started creating YouTube videos, and more specifically story videos. One of the first things I did was turn off the in-game music so that I could create my own soundtrack. And it is still one of the most fun and fulfilling parts of what I do, is picking the right song and placing it in exactly the right spot. To me, that is where a lot of the joy of making these videos comes from for me. And that's also the reason why I spend a lot of time making videos that include intros that can be a minute to a minute and a half long.
Yeah,
I love the intros and making the trailers and stuff because the music is so powerful. But I don't know what your experience has been with that, and kind of what the role music has played in your gaming experiences, Jessa.
Well, Stu, I wanted to, before I answer that, I wanted to sort of talk about my experience in listening to your content, as I've been a fan of yours for years now. And one thing I've noticed is that each of your characters has a theme song, so that if you were to have, let's say, a contest, and you were going to give away something, you could actually have the contest by playing 3 music pieces and asking people in the comments to write down which character the music belongs to.
Right. Yeah.
Because all of your characters have a sort of theme that plays either throughout the gameplay or throughout or with the theme song that opens up the episode. So that is a very powerful. I know that people often say that they'll listen to a gaming soundtrack when they are studying or whatnot, and the music just brings the whole thing alive. Now, there is a counter argument to that, or a counter viewpoint, in that there are people who argue that music is very distracting to the role play in their own minds, not necessarily listening to it. But for example, when you walk throughout the world, unless you're my husband who has music playing in his head all the time, you don't normally have a soundtrack for your life, You're listening,
I envision him walking the mean streets of the Pacific Northwest with a Shaft soundtrack playing in his head.
For mine, it would be like disco. It would be like Diana Ross and Stevie Wonder. It'd definitely be Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
I'd be rocking down the street, and you'd walk up to people, and all of a sudden they just hear Stevie Wonder. Anyway, but so people argue that when they're in the game, they want to turn all music off. It makes them feel more like they're there, because they're right. I mean, unless, when you're walking around, you don't really hear music playing when you're out at the grocery store, walking down to the park with your kids or something.
Yeah.
So there is, but I have found that music creates something in the background that is very soothing, to be honest.
Right.
And adds, you can also have the combat music that pops in. But I guess to sum it up as to why music would be so important in the gaming experience, think everyone in chat about when you sat down, push the play button or the start button, whatever it was, to start Skyrim for the very first time. Yeah. And you heard that music and those deep male Skyrim voices. We knew you were not in Cyrodiil anymore. You were not in elsewhere. You were in Skyrim, and you could, in those first few measures, you could hear you could feel the type of people that you were going to be meeting there. You're going to meet you're going to meet some strong Nord women.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a choir of high soprano voices and, some of this and that. I can't sing, but
I disagree.
But, thank you. My husband disagrees with me too, but I don't anyway, but sometimes I let go and I sing in the episodes and then I apologize. But yeah, see, Katie is putting the Dovahkiin, Nolak Zin Los Varin.
I thought
I got chills. Wow, that was
I
pretty
always
good.
thought it was you are being so mean.
Dovahkiin, you are being so mean.
Yeah, I can't not say that now. Like at some point I started saying that, and then I was repeating it in podcasts, and I don't know why, but I've rewritten a lot of the lyrics to classic Christmas songs as well, and now I can't sing them any other way, and most of it's pretty sarcastic. So yeah, I'm a sarcastic Christmas guy, but. Yeah, I totally feel you on that. It's really, it's huge. It sets the tone, and you're absolutely right. I mean, Skyrim has a big, booming, powerful, and kind of a tribal feel to it in the way that when you hear the soundtrack, not only do you hear the beautiful music, but you get the sense for the weight of history that is present in Skyrim. You can sort of feel it through the music, right? And it's a very compelling thing. So that's why I think when I'm trying to transform the world of Skyrim through a story I'm telling, that music, as wonderful as it is, has a strange impact on a story like Rune Runner. You know what I mean? Where the idea is lightness and levity and speed and motion. And so I'm trying to convey something different there, right? And it just gives you a sense for how vitally important the music is, because it'll transform an experience or a story immediately, and
exactly.
So, yeah, I work very hard at the beginning of any series to try and find the right combination of music to fit the character. And usually what I'm doing is I'm thinking of a piece that will be the signature piece, but I'm also thinking of related pieces that will make a nice music bed for the episodes. And so if I were to play the theme for Ashes, everybody would recognize it, but they would probably also recognize the music that I'm using for the music bed, and they would associate that as well with Ashes, even though that music is probably set to minus 25 decibels and just sits there kind of in the background, creating mood.
Did you just say music bed?
Yeah, I refer to that as a music bed. It's like it's a bed that I put into my video production template that kind of sets the mood. And some stories have a music bed that never changes. And other stories have multiple music beds. They may have 4 or 5 different music beds, and I may choose one depending on the mood of the episode or the location of the episode or what's happening in the episode, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so that's that background, very low background music that goes in the background. The only thing, I love that. The only thing is that, and this is the thing I like about using personalized music, which I'll talk about, is that Skyrim, I don't know if you know this, but Skyrim has silence tracks included in their music soundtrack. So it's not music playing all the time. Mm-hmm. So with a music bed, it would be awesome if there could be some, just a little bit of silence between. That might vary between the tracks, so your ears get a break and get a chance to soak in the atmosphere, and then go back to having the music. And it's very subtle. Right. Otherwise, having something repeat all the time, I have found starts to give me a slight headache, I think, or make me a little tense. I'm not sure. Even if I love the music.
Right.
So, it's like when you find that new pop song that you totally love and you play it 400 times on repeat. Yeah. And then like the 400 and first time, you're like, can't stand it. And you can't stand it anymore.
Yeah. No, I get
you're
it.
Like,
I get it. I've done that before. I'm guilty of doing that. Like getting fixated on a song and setting it on loop all day.
On repeat.
Yeah. I've done that before. Yeah. Guilty as charged.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically how, your take on music that you have is really different from mine from the standpoint of I don't have theme music for a character. I tend to use a lot of my husband's music for my opening, like my outro right now is a song that my husband wrote for me. And he's a guitarist, so that's what's playing. Mm-hmm. Pumped Up Kicks. I played that so many times. Katie Bryson's talking about Pumped Up Kicks, which is a song. And now I have that in my head. Thank you, Katie. Appreciate that. But anyway, getting those pop songs in your head. But I actually have a different way. And using personalized music, I don't know if it's all right for me to go in and talk about that now.
Yeah, do it.
We're going into the mod section now.
Yeah.
So there are many mods, because we're talking about this from the standpoint of being Let's Players, but we're also players too. I mean, we're also just enjoy the game on our own when we can. And so for those, hi, Shirley. Hi, Miss Shirley. How are you?
Shirley has arrived.
Shirley has arrived. Let the party start, man.
Finally, we can start the party.
Now we can start, man. Everybody pass around the sweet rolls.
Bonbons.
I was trying to think of something that was not. Anyway, Shirley, we're talking about. we're talking pass. Okay, let's just do it. Pass around the skooma.
There you go. Hitting the hard stuff now.
But for those of you guys who are just popping in now, we're talking about the power of music and role playing. And so I was going to start talking about some of the mods that you can use to open up your Let's Play, and even not your Let's Play, your role play. And even if you're not putting it on YouTube, which many of you are not, these are things that you can just play in the background or just add to the game. And, even if you use Xbox, you can just play them on your, I was about to say Walkman. That dates me.
Oh, walk what? That's not gender inclusive. We can't use that anymore.
You're walk person.
You're walk person. You're walk individual.
For you younglings, a Walkman was a player you could use. I think you could play like your CDs in it. This is before MP3 players.
No, I had one that played cassette tapes. So just go watch Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you'll learn what a Walkman is.
Okay. Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Walkman. Including the music that's playing on his Walkman is freaking awesome. So
Walkmans are, but yeah, and you'd have it with your you'd be wearing your what were those things called? Those skates, inline skates, and you go put your Walkman on, and then put what were those things called? And you go out to the park,
your rollerblades,
and
your rollerblades.
Rollerblades, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so 1988.
For sure.
Anyway, back to mods. Yeah, so first up is as I've been talking about throughout this podcast already, is personalized music. Personalized music is my music mod of choice. You can download music mods, and I'll highlight some of them that actually add music for you, that composers have created, and I'll talk about some of those composers, including one who might surprise you. But also, they add the music themselves. So Fantasy Soundtrack Project is one of those top mods that adds a bunch of music that is from different people that the modder has found on YouTube, that kind of thing. And I actually used Fantasy Soundtrack Project throughout much of Mala's playthrough. And here is that mod into chat now. And that's a great mod. However, just like with the Skyrim Soundtrack Project, after you've listened to it for 50, 100 hours, or however long a playthrough takes, it starts to get a bit samey.
Right.
The wonderful thing about personalized music mod is that it allows you to change up your music. You can change it up anytime. So I'm going to just give you the names of some of the folders. So basically what it is the modder has given, when you open up the mod, you're going to see a bunch of folders with different names in them. They're all going to be empty. The names of the folders are, for example, Castle, music. These are places in which the music that you put into the folders of that name will play. So they have Castle, like for Dragon's Reach. They have Temple. Of course, they have combat music. Personalized Music has combat music folders, and not just one combat music folder that plays whenever you have combat. Personalized Music has combat folders for when you're only doing Civil War combat, when you're only fighting a vampire lord, when you're only fighting a dragon. That's really cool. So you can have, and then you can have combat that shows up anytime as well too. So you can also have, they have different dungeons, and not only dungeon music that plays in all dungeons, you can also have dungeon music that plays when it's a cave or a fort or an ice dungeon. You can have music that plays in Dwemer dungeons and locations. They also have explore music that plays in different locations. Time of day, like morning, evening, night. Different areas, like when you're in a forest. For a fall forest like Riften, or a pine forest like Falkreath. Exploring when you're on top of a mountain, for example. And if you are familiar with TS5 Edit, you can actually add in folders. I haven't played around with that, but you could add in something that only plays, for example, when you're in the Greybeard's temple, for example. I believe that is true. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, they also have town music and temple music. So I have added a number of things to Kenlin's playthrough, and I'm going to give some of these links to Stu so that he can play some of this. First up, I have filled my Personalized Music folders with the wonderful music from someone that we all know really well. I have interviewed him before, and he is responsible for one of the most popular mods of all time, I exaggerate not, in Skyrim. The creator of Inigo, Gary, has a YouTube channel, called Evil Blue Koala. And before he was famous for Inigo, he created music for Skyrim. So I have thrown that into chat for you, Stu, and I will throw it into chat here.
Cool. Now, he's a fantastic musician, and he does a lot of amazing music on his other YouTube channel as well. You can find his stuff on Spotify, and in some of his more mainstream sounding stuff is incredibly good. Really, really good. And, he's a real, he's an artsy fartsy guy too. So he makes his own music videos and stuff. So if you go to Smart Blue Cat, you'll find some really fantastic music there as well. Now, granted, it's not designed to be a Skyrim soundtrack, but it is some pretty amazing music nonetheless.
Exactly. So, for example, Humble Beginnings. Can you click on that one, Stu? That should be right. Because he has a mod called the Additional Music Project for Skyrim. I'll pull that up too, which you can get all this music. Or I just grab this music from YouTube and put it in. So this song that Stu's about to play plays in castles in my playthrough. I have it set for castles. Let me know if you guys can hear it in the chat. I can't hear it because I'm on Skype. Anyway, so that is one of the songs from Evil Blue Koala, Gary, who sometimes comes to chat, I should say, not cat, chat, and says hi and drops by. And he occasionally leaves a comment on my channel. So if you're around, Gary, hi, you're awesome. Yep. He's so talented.
It's playing right now.
Okay, good. Katie can hear it. Awesome. Yep. So that is Humble Beginnings that plays in a castle in my particular game. Now, if you think, for example, that would sound much better while playing in Whiterun, then you can just add that to the town's Whiterun folder and Personalized Music.
Yeah.
Here is another composer that I'm going to pull up for you that is so, so good. Oh my goodness, this guy. Most of my stuff is his. Let me head on to another folder here. Let's try the combat folder. Okay. I'm going to find this one. First of all, I'll give you his channel. This, and it's going to be hard to pronounce. If you guys can pronounce this, you're better people than I am because I can't. It's Vindswept. It's like windswept, except with V's instead of
swept. Yes.
It's like it's all Swedish and stuff.
Yes. If you watch any of Hoddleton's videos at all, you'll have heard a lot of Vindswept stuff in Hoddleton's videos. He uses them as a backdrop for a lot of his kind of, I guess, I don't know what they are. I guess mod showcases. You know.
Yeah. And I'm just pulling up a song here. As We March is the name of this one. And I'm going to copy the link and hand it to you, Stu. Should I put it in the main chat or in the Skype chat? Which is easier?
Put it in Skype chat.
Okay.
Put it in the Skype chat. That'll be easier.
So that's Vinsep, and that is the particular song. So you guys will be able to hear As We March, which is in my general combat folder. And I will just imagine what it sounds like because I can't hear it.
Well, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
So that is Vinsep. And what I did was I just spent a happy couple of days. Oh, I love this song. I'm playing it on my end too. So good.
I feel like a DJ,
doesn't that
man.
just make you?
I'm just jimmying the volume up and down so when you're speaking, people can hear it as a music bed.
Okay. I'm making you work for your dinner today.
That's right. That's right.
But that one just, I mean, doesn't that make you just want to haul off and hit somebody in the face? Doesn't it? I mean, like in a good way, like in a combat way.
Yeah, it makes me want to hit someone in a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
You know,
like a friendly slap. You know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just makes you want to haul off, whip out your sword, and just smack a dragon in the face.
That's right. No, it's inspiring music. You know, that's kind of it. The idea of the game is, you know, in the end, you're supposed to feel like the hero. You know, and you know, if you leave an adventure game or a fantasy game feeling like you just got your ass kicked, I don't think that's the sort of experience that they intended you to have.
No.
You know, like you're supposed to feel like an epic hero, you know, and this music helps you feel that way, you know. That's
why they don't play dirges, you know, when you start out with combat, like dun 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 dun. Exactly. And you're like, hey, come at me, bandits, come at me.
Yeah, it's not really inspiring stuff. Yeah.
It doesn't bring on the mood, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Vinswept is amazing stuff.
And he has so many things. I have, you know, it's not just combat music that Vinswept has. He has stuff that works wonderfully in a temple and a tavern. I have several of his things playing in a tavern. Much of my personal a personalized music folder is Vinswept. So next up is, unless you want to get a word in edgewise, I've just been talking here, Stu.
Well, no, give us another example. And because I mean, we're kind of on track here to give people examples of places they can go to get stuff. But one of the things that we're going to talk about after that is selections that we use in our own videos and why. Yep. And I've got, you know, plenty of stuff that I can pull out there. So.
Okay, good. So 57 Strudel just logged into chat and said, logged in just in time for wild cackles of hilarity. Yeah. I don't cackle. I don't cackle. Do I cackle? Do I cackle really? Oh, no. I'm old.
Never.
Only old people cackle.
I have never heard you cackle once. Not one single time. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, because he wants to remain friends. He wants to still be able to call me. Okay, so the next up is now we're going to head into other game series that you can use to add. Thank you, Shirley. Shirley just told me I'm not old. I really appreciate that. Thank you. But other game franchises whose music that is available on YouTube that you can add in that have a similar flavor. Some of them have even been done by Jeremy Soule. So the first one is, I love this game, is Baldur's Gate. I'm going to throw the link in here for this one for you, Stu. It will play the first part of the Baldur's Gate soundtrack.
Okay.
And on YouTube, you can find the Baldur's Gate soundtrack for Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and Shadows of Amn. Hey, 57, I bet I'm probably older than you are, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am, but I'm probably old enough to be your mommy.
Not 57, I don't think.
No, I'm not. If that's your age, then you do have me beat by a little bit.
All right, we're listening to some badass music right now.
Yay!
I love Baldur's Gate. I played that back in the day.
Back in the day, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're right. You have me beat. One of the few people that have me beat as to how old you are. So that is the first soundtrack I wanted to bring up to you, and then also I'll let that play for a little bit. So I encourage you to grab this one. I'm also going to throw the link in for Baldur's Gate Shadows of Amn. And you can actually find these. What I did was I looked for them to find the individual. I looked for a playlist version of this so that each song was individual, so I could download each song individually as opposed to one big track. But this is just to give you an idea.
Yeah, and if for whatever reason, if you're not familiar, there are software tools that you can get that will allow you to download things straight from YouTube using using the video URL, and then you can choose what bitrate you want to save it in and what file format you want to save it in. It's pretty easy stuff. So
yeah, I'm gonna put mine in. I'm using one that I love. It's a Firefox plugin, but it may be for Chrome too, called Complete YouTube Saver. And that should help you find that. And that just allows me to download it as an MP4, as an MP3, as a video file, and it's very, very easy. Now, Shirley asked me, and Shirley's coming from the standpoint of being another Let's Player. If you haven't checked out her channel, then where have you been? Stuck under something heavy or dead or on the moon? Like, where have you been? Right. Anyway. So Shirley's coming up on, I don't know, 300,000 subscribers, I think. And she's YouTube's grandma. YouTube's butt-kicking grandma. Anyway, she was asking about whether these are free to play. And I think you mean, Shirley, about copyright. And everything that I am giving to you is royalty-free, or it is from a game soundtrack where the game designers have not copyrighted their music for playing on YouTube. Of course, if you wanted to do something like sell this music, you can't do that, of course. It's copyrighted in the normal way. But to play it on a channel, this is all stuff that I have played on my channel and was very careful because copyright strikes or copyright claims are a real pain in the butt, as Stu and I can tell you with hardy truth. So I made sure that Vindswept, Evil Blue Koala, they all have things that are available to use for that. Anyway, so the next one that is up for you to play, Stu, is Guild Wars. The Guild Wars anthology soundtrack, which I'm going to put into chat now, is got all the music from all of Guild Wars. And it's Jeremy Soule is also the composer for this, and the music fits perfectly for Skyrim. It's very apropos for Skyrim. So that is another one. Now, of course, since you're playing If you're playing privately and you're just listening to it on your own, you could go with movie soundtracks. Chance just mentioned in chat that he or she listens to the Dune soundtrack. That's another one.
Oh, yeah.
I have to, as a Let's Player, stay away from those, but otherwise. And then 2 more to mention to you while we're listening to that.
All right.
I hope you guys can all hear that one playing in the background.
It's gorgeous. I wasn't aware that Jeremy Soule did this, but I wasn't I wasn't very familiar with Guild Wars. I mean, I've never played it myself, but
I haven't played it either. But how I found out about it is in the Personalized Music mod page. There's a forum there. In the little tabs, you can see posts, images, downloads, forums. There's a little forum in there where people are discussing about what music they're using in their Personalized Music mods. And someone mentioned Guild Wars.
Yeah. So
I went and listened to it, and that's awesome. Chance is mentioning that the Witcher soundtrack would work as well, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So one more composer to mention to you, and this one is Bruneville. Bruneville has a mod up on the Nexus. He does a lot of fantasy music. Let's put that into chat. And for you, Stu, I'm going to pick a certain song to play. Let's see if I can find one. This is for combat as well, too. Let me find this.
Okay.
I'm just searching on his page for this particular song.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for putting these URLs right into the YouTube chat as well. I'm sure people will be bookmarking these and grabbing some of these tracks. That's pretty.
No problem. I love spending time in chat. I very much enjoy chat. So this is the particular song that's going to be playing up next, and Bruneville has a mod. Let me see if I can find it on the Nexus. And KD, if you might be able to help me find this really quick. Bruneville.
That's
Nexus.
Wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
It's a music mod?
It's a music mod.
Okay.
Where he has basically uploaded all of his music in a mod form.
Cool.
And so I have most of his tracks in my game as well, too.
Now think about that, though. I mean, what an interesting and completely unique way to market yourself as a musician, too, right? Going into these communities where the people are playing that are going to love your music and giving them a way to actually incorporate that right into their games. It's pretty ingenious when you think about it, but it's such it's such a new media thing to do, right? I mean, to get out and distribute your music directly through a mod straight to the audience that's going to like it. I mean, that's kind of an incredible thing. It's genius,
and he's his music fits so well, and otherwise I would never have heard of him, because it's not something that you just think to look for. Yeah. At least I don't on YouTube. But once you know about it, then you go and take a look at it. And then the last thing I'd like to mention before we go to what we use for our personal Let's Plays is something that I think a lot of people may not actually remember or think of. But the number one thing to put into your personalized music first before anything else is Morrowind Oblivion music.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I have the tracks from Morrowind and Oblivion in their respective folders in personalized music. And when you're traveling and you hear that music. Yeah. So let's just end this one by putting up the Morrowind soundtrack. I'll put it up. I'll find it. Here.
That's awesome.
So we can all go back and have a nostalgia-gasm.
Nostalgia-gasm. Love it.
So this is the Morrowind soundtrack full.
Did you drop it
I'm
into
gonna
the
put
chat? You're doing it now?
Here it is.
Awesome.
Yep.
There it is. I see it.
Okay,
cool.
Everybody space out and remember the time when.
You know, the cool thing too is how these other soundtracks are, you know, so thematically related to the stuff that we're used to in Skyrim that it just fits in seamlessly, but there's enough variation in the style and the instrumentation, right, that it allows you to just sort of triple the variety in your musical experience, right, which I think is pretty damn cool. So
let's just take a moment and just listen to that.
Yeah, it's like
Morwen!
It cut out on me.
So good.
It cut out on me, but we got a bit of the intro.
Okay. Well, so yeah, that's what I wanted to present today for how to really bring a life to your role play and your character, whether you're a Let's Player, whether you can use mods or not use mods. It doesn't matter if you're on the Xbox, if you're on the PS4. You can just add those in. Just add them to just put on YouTube in the background and listen to it. Yep. You know, and add in some extra flavor to your playthrough. So really go, and if you go and download some of those mods that I've mentioned, make sure and hit that endorsement, particularly for people like the Fantasy Music Project, for people who have, it's their own composed music. Yeah, so.
That's beautiful stuff. God damn, I just can't get over it. Like, you know, and you think about it too, like, I have the full Skyrim soundtrack, and I don't know how many tunes there are in that. It's a 2-disc set, so I mean it's a crap ton of music. And when you combine that with Oblivion and Morrowind, you essentially triple the size of your music catalog. It's kind of ridiculous.
These are how many music files I have in Personalized Music. I have about 340 music files in 29 different folders. Set up. And there are a lot of folders that I did not use. For example, there are folders for Dragonborn. And different locations there that I did not use because I knew I wasn't going to be using that for this particular playthrough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. This is great.
Yep.
This is great. Hey, thanks for sharing these with us, Jessa. This is really, really great stuff. And people have tools now to not only get access to the music, but to figure out how to actually get it into their game without too much trouble, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. That's awesome.
Yay!
Woohoo! All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit about using music to set mood in our own YouTube series. So, you know, obviously, Jessa, as YouTubers, we have access to royalty-free music libraries through our network partnerships. And
yes,
you and I both actually have the same network partner now, Curse, Union of Gamers, I believe.
Yes.
Yep. And, you know, through that partnership, we get access to resources like, you know, Epidemic Sound, which is where we get a lot of our royalty-free music if we want to do something that's, you know, different than a standard soundtrack that's available out there, for example. So, let's talk a little bit about usage of music, because in our conversations about music, it's become pretty clear that we choose things for different reasons, but we have different objectives as storytellers and different styles. So maybe kind of clue us in a little bit when you're starting something new. What is it you're looking for, and how are you making selections?
You know what I do is I'm thinking about the character. So for Kenlin, for example, essentially Kenlin at heart is a warrior.
Right.
So when I'm looking for tracks to add in, I'm looking for stuff that has a good pounding beat to it, that doesn't always sound like combat, but just reflects her strength and power. And there's such a sweetness to when everything comes together.
Yes.
Oh, Shirley's asking about that. Shirley, you know what? afterwards, I'll call you on Skype and we'll talk about it if you're not too tired. But yes, the long and short of it is absolutely don't do anything else. She's talking about what network to go with.
Right.
But anyway, so I lost my train of thought. But in any case, I'm going for the soul of the character, but also Kenlyn is a girl. She's female. I mean, not really a girl. She's girly. She's got, long blonde hair that she keeps up in a braid because otherwise it'll get chopped off and during combat. But, she likes to wear, or tries to wear dresses. She has a very manly walk. I've mentioned this before because she has these two very large swords at her side. And if you walk with this real feminine walk, you'll keep hitting your elbows on it.
Right.
So you learn really quickly not to walk like that. But I basically just go in and I just do a search in Epidemic Sound for different search terms. Right. And then I just pull the music aside and add it in, for the playthrough. Yep. I think you might have more to say about this than I do, this particular part of it. Right. Because you choose per character, and I do too. There's music that I'll take out that is inappropriate, that is not appropriate for Kenlyn. Right. But for me, when I want to do something like if I want to change the intro to Skyrim or if I want to change my outro music, instead of going to Epidemic Sound, I go to my husband and ask him to write something for me. Which he gladly does.
Pretty amazing resource to have right there, I think.
Yes, because I want to have music for my channel that is completely original and exists nowhere else on YouTube. So right now for Skyrim Season 3, I have a windswept track playing in the opening and my husband's music playing for the outro. And then most of what I've put in personalized music. There is one place, and this one I have got to find for you. There is one place in which I did use music that was very profound to the story. Let's see if we can find it. It is from Guild Wars. And
you use this in a particular episode for a specific situation? That's
for a specific situation. About? Yes. In Season 1, Kenlyn, there was a big reveal, which I don't want to say too much about because kind of ruin it for people who haven't yet seen it. But there was a big reveal that you know about, in which Kenlyn was revealed to be someone entirely different than we thought.
Right.
And that was tied into the Civil War, and that was the first time I told you. I think I said on mic that there were 3 times in which Kenlyn went into disguise. This was the first time.
Right.
You knew it because I talked to you about it beforehand. I knew it. The viewers didn't know it. So at the point in which I needed to reveal that was going to be going down, I used this incredible song that it's going to take me a little bit of time to find. So I'll let you talk for a while I look for it.
Sure.
That played while she was riding her horse across the lands of Skyrim. She rode from the dungeon where you pick up the Jagged Crown all the way to her destination. And this music was playing in the background and building in the background. So I'm going to look for that.
It was from Guild Wars?
But I'm not 100% sure, so I'm going to go back and look through my playlists until I find it.
Okay, so I choose my music on a per character basis. So I'm looking for tracks that fit the character in general. But then one of the things that I really like to do is when we talk about Ashes, and 57 Strudel has mentioned Shadling's music. Shadling has a specific theme, but I love to play with that theme in different ways. So one of the things that is, I think, really cool about Epidemic Sound is when I download music from there, I very carefully select everything that I'm going to use, but it is also once I've selected a track, I will download all the stems. And
the stems,
what the stems are all the pieces of the track separated into their various parts. So usually there's a melody, there is an instrumental, there's a bass, there's a percussion, and I will download all the stems, and I may use the entire piece for a theme, but I will pull out specific stems to put in my background sound bed. So one of the things that is pervasive in episodes of the Shadeling story is this kind of funky little percussion sound that is playing in the background as a music bed. And there are times when it's very subtle, but it's almost always there. And there's a certain kind of power and melancholy to Shadeling's music that I think is, in part, depicts his personality, the sort of, alien nature of his personality and the solitude of who he is. But that percussion piece, when I use it in a sound bed, it has an impact in areas of the story where the full track doesn't touch. So what I'm playing right now is the full track. But quite often in the music bed, what I will use is only the drum portion of that track. So I'm using the drum stem as background. And the drum stem is interesting. It's just this sound. So I'm using this kind of tap, tap, tapping sound, right? And that's playing almost all the time in the background of Shadeling's videos. And it's so interesting how sometimes you'll have these pauses, these quiet pauses where the action will stop and he's sitting in the darkness somewhere and everything goes still, and then you'll just hear the tap, 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 right? And it's kind of a recurring theme in his music. And then I have other pieces that I use as well that are related. One of the things that is really interesting about Epidemic Sound is usually the composers will create multiple pieces in the same theme. So quite often what I will do is I will find a track that fits the character or the story that I'm trying to tell. I will grab all the stems, but then I will also look for related tracks to that piece. And you can think of related tracks almost like different movements in the same piece or different variations on the same piece. And I will download all the stems for those as well. And the tracks are just different enough that you get a lot of variety, but just enough the same that you get a consistent feel across an entire series. So quite often what I'll do is select a specific track that will be the theme, but then I will use various stems and combinations of other related pieces to create sound beds, or to throw in a specific piece of music at a point where I need to really hammer home a particular mood or an idea, right? I'll play a track in full at that point. And I think what I really like about it is that, like we were talking about earlier, these pieces of music start to become synonymous with the characters. So when you hear that piece of music, you think of that character specifically. Right now I'm playing Billy's theme, which has it's got a very Pulp Fiction kind of feel to it. It also has a little bit of the spaghetti western thing going on, which I really love. And I think a big part of the fun for me in transitioning to starting to make some Fallout videos as well as Skyrim videos is the variety in music that I get to use now. Being able to use some other kinds of music, being able to use rock and roll music from the 50s and 60s and 70s and stuff like that. I'm a huge music buff, so being able to pull in some variety and have it fit the theme has been really super fun. Huge fun doing that. So for me, Epidemic Sound, when I'm on there looking around, it's like a kid in a candy store. I mean, there are some nights where what I will do is I'll do a search and assemble a soundtrack in Epidemic Sound, basically a search result, and then I'll start playing the first item in the search result, and I'll just let it play in my earbuds and fall asleep to that. And what I'm doing is kind of visualizing in my head, right? What themes would fit this music, or whether or not a particular piece is a good fit for the story, that kind of thing. So
I've done the same thing. I've just gone onto Epidemic Sound and just just got a kind of a list going, and then just listen to things until something popped out while I was editing. That's a lot of times when I do it.
Right.
While I'm working on something else in the background, and when something pops out, I just grab it to remember it. There's all kinds of music there. There's fantasy music. There's anything you can think of.
Right.
There. And I haven't used those, what did you call them? The stems? I didn't quite understand what those were.
Yeah.
So I haven't really used them, but I noticed in your Let's Play that you were having tinier versions of the main theme. So I think that's what a stem basically is.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with a stem. So I'll download the stems for a song, and usually it's 4 or 5 separate tracks, and I will pull out the instrumental track, for example, and I'll use it as a sound bed. And in some cases, what I've done is I've used a track for the character theme, but then I've taken all the individual stems and then strung them together and created a sound bed or a music bed for them. And the cool thing about that is when you layer all the stems on top of one another and play them at the same time, what you get is the finished track, right? So sometimes what I'll do is when I'm putting together videos, I use Adobe Premiere, and I can create as many track levels as I need to. I may create a sound bed that includes 4 separate tracks, right? First, I'll play the percussion, then I'll play the melody, then I'll play the instrumental, then I'll play the bass, right? And I'll just play them one after another, but not on top of each other. And then what I'll do is I'll play around and say, okay, what happens if I add variety by just playing the percussion and the bass track together at the same time? Or what if I play the bass track and the melody track at the same time? And what it does is it gives me a crap ton of variety in doing that sound bed or that music bed. So when I do have the music present, I've got all these different options. And then when you throw in related tracks, so if I throw in related tracks, usually what happens when I was describing related tracks before, an artist may create a track called Beautiful Song 1, right? And if I like the way Beautiful Song 1 sounds, I can do a search on Epidemic Sound for Beautiful Song, and I will see that the same artist has produced 3 different versions of that, which is Beautiful Song 1, 2, and 3. And they're all slightly related, right? They all kind of follow a same theme or a style, maybe. And if I grab all of those and get the stems for all, then I have tons of variety in what I can offer in different situations. So what I like is sort of the thematic consistency that gives me. So
you have a question here in chat, Stu, that says, I never understood, this is A Sun Rises. I never understood Billy's music. I feel like that's beach montage music. I'm curious as to what you have to say about that, if anything.
I guess I don't really. If we're talking about Billy's theme, then what I'm trying to do with that series is selecting music that to me portrays something about who Billy is as a person. And he is a person, he is a man out of time. So he is a man who is essentially 200 years older than everybody else in the world currently. He is a person who comes from a time and a place when music was very, very different. And the only music that's left in the wasteland now are archives of really old stuff that somebody found and dusted off and plays over the radio. I don't think anybody believes that in the year 2087, when the bombs dropped, that that's the music that everyone was listening to. Like somehow everybody in 2087 was listening to music from the 1920s. So part of the way that I make Billy distinctive as a person and portray his background as a character is that he has distinctive taste in music. He likes rock and roll. He's a bad boy. He's a guy who got in trouble. He's a biker. He's a person who loves rock and roll music. And so when putting together that series, one of the things that I really liked was the idea of music that portrays a style that cuts across different times and eras. So when you listen to that music, it's got a theatrical quality to it in that there are aspects of it that sound like it comes from a spaghetti western. There are also aspects of it that sounds pulpy, like it comes from, say, 50s or 60s style rock and roll with, twangy guitars and stuff like that. So that particular piece, I think, really kind of has that sort of effect. In that series, though, I make very specific use of music beds as well in certain scenarios because I'm trying to portray something specific. So when I talk about Nora's theme, Hey Nora, that music is supposed to sound lonely and desolate, right? And that music we hear when he's recording his diary entries or his letters to Nora, his Hey Noras. And then I also use related pieces from that and pull stems out for a music bed that plays in the background, specifically during those times when he's wandering the open wastes. Now, he is, in the next 2 episodes, he's come to a point where he has really, something has changed significantly for him, and the music bed is changing. And people are going to notice that in the next 4 episodes, that the music bed is starting to change as he transforms as a character. So I don't really know what to tell you about why. I don't know why it sounds like a beach montage to you, but it doesn't sound like that to me. So
okay, yeah, I just thought you might want to address that. Yep. I have found out. I have not found the name of the song that I was playing during that very important moment, but I have thrown the video in at the very spot where it starts into your chat and here too.
Got it.
So you can hear how I use this particular music to get across.
I can make it there.
Kenlin riding across the
Hera, I'm going to need you to
Skyrim
put your
world.
back into it.
I'm playing it right now.
I'm so sorry I can't think of the name of the song. I just totally have no excuse.
But it comes from Guild Wars, right? You're thinking that's where it comes from?
I think so, but I'm not sure. I could be totally wrong. That's the first thing I'm thinking. I've been looking, because somebody asked me about it in the comments, and I've been looking through my comments, searching, trying to find the name of the song. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, this is it's got what it has. It's got a quality to it that I would refer to as restless or chasing quality. Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And by the way, not Stu, you're Stu. Cal from Dirty Weasel Media just hopped in
Hey,
to
Cal.
the chat.
Welcome.
Hi, Cal.
Welcome, Cal. Yeah. Oh, and A Sunrise is also was just mentioning that they're familiar with the 1920s/50s music of the Fallout games. That's absolutely true. One of the things that we were talking about earlier is how quite often, at least what I'm trying to do, is transform games like Skyrim and Fallout into something else. I'm trying to give them a feel of my own, and the surest way to do that is to introduce your own music. So one of my favorite things to do is turn off the in-game music and introduce my own. And where Fallout is concerned, I've gone so far as to create my own mod that changes the classical radio station to music I put in myself. And
if not, you get copyright strikes. All that music is copyrighted.
Yeah, so there is
Fallout 4 music.
Yep, there is a mod for Fallout 4 that's designed for YouTubers specifically so that we're not constantly getting flagged, and I do have that in as well. The interesting thing about that is it replaces a lot of the music with old, like, advertisements, like old cigarette advertisements, for Camel cigarettes and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
That they splash in there. It's really kind of interesting stuff. So
that's really cool. That's awesome. They should play the Looney Tunes cartoons, although those would be copyrighted, but
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I've got to call it to an end here. This has been really amazing, Jessa. It's so wonderful to have you back on the channel, but I need to make sure I've got enough time here to prepare for the next my next live stream here at 8 o'clock. I got to go.
Sad face.
Got to go gargle. But
thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, tell the nice people out there how they can get a hold of you, how they can see your content and follow you on social media.
You can check out my content here on YouTube at the Jessa channel. I'm also at thejessachannel.com, and I hang out on Twitter where you can see pictures of flowers from our garden and our kitty cats.
Yes.
And I also talk about Skyrim and what kind of stuff. But that's where I am available at thejessachannel.com. You can contact me there. And thank you for having me, and also I will welcome back when I listen next week, Joe and Matt. Thank you for letting me sit in for you two, both gentlemen. Absolutely. I tried to fill your very big shoes.
Yeah, well, as usual, you bring a ton of value to the podcast. You always come prepared. You always come with great links and resources and great knowledge, of course. We definitely appreciate that, and that's why we love having you on the show.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you're back to making videos again. That means that we can have you on more often. So
yay!
Right?
Yeah, we need to do another mod roundtable with Cal and
we are everybody. I feel like we're way overdue on that. Yeah, I think. Oh,
because we didn't even talk about paid mods this episode. We'll have to do that another one. That's a whole big dragon right there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So to speak.
Yeah, I sort of feel like, maybe it's time for us to do another round table.
A round table.
Yeah, it was very
time
productive
for all of us to
time.
get together.
Yeah, so hey everybody, thanks for joining. Now, just letting you know, our next official guest who is going to be on the podcast, we are going to have both Dark Fox 127 and SimSim on at the same time, beginning of August. If you go out to the website at charactercrusade.com, right on the homepage, you will see our schedule of events, and it will show you the podcast dates and times coming up, including August, when we will have a live stream featuring Dark Fox 127 and SimSim, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of their mod projects, about their Discord community, about Twitch, and about his Project Modularity project, which I think is going to turn into something very, very cool. There's a lot of exciting things going on in Dark Fox's community there, mod-wise, so that's going to be great fun. So if any of you out there are interested in kind of seeing how an episode of Marl's Adventure is put together, feel free to check back in about 20 minutes. I will be going live at 8 p.m. Central Time, and we will be recording an episode of Marl live. So thank you everybody for attending.
Bye.
Bye.
Not too bad for something we pulled out of our backsides.
I let the whole audience hear that. Oh, the cat's out of the bag now.